Happy New Year and welcome to the Hochsauerland to Winterberg in Germany for race 5 of the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. Hello everybody, I'm Martin Haven. Welcome back for coverage of our second and deciding heat of the 5th World Cup of the season and the European Championships. And welcome back too to our sliders from North America with Canadians and Americans joining us in the field. But at the top of the pile is a man hunting for his 12th consecutive European Championship gold medalist. He lies in 3rd place after the first of our 2 heats. Martin Stukur's 1800s away from gold. Can he do it again? Between him and the top step of the podium is Alexander Gassner of Germany, silver medalist on this track in January 2020. Can he climb to the top step of the podium for the first time in his World Cup career and grab the European title? Or will it go to the man who won the European Championship back in 2007? Since Alexander Chechikov was last European champion, Christian Bromley's won it twice, Frank Rommel's won it once, and Martin Stukur has won it 11 times. Chechikov has had a slew of other medals in that time, but not a European gold. Well, here's how they line up after the first of our 2 heats then. All of the times that you set in the competition go together and the aggregate time decides the winners. And the medals will come from the top 4. 2200s cover the top 4. Be a miracle if Thomas Dukurs gets there from 3900s back. Further back, we have ties for 6th place. We have ties for 9th place. We have ties also for 20th place, which means from our original starting order of 25, 21 athletes go through into our top 20 second heat. Ronald Otterset and Austin Mccrary, the rookie from the USA, will both get a second shot. Between the runs, you're allowed to change the setup on your sled, but not the runners. That's the same with bobsleigh. You can't change the runners once you're committed to them. Air temperature hovering around 0-1, little bit of light snow in the air. Ice down about -4. It was pretty clear. There is our Danish rookie, Rasmus Vestergaard Johansson. Second generation slider from Denmark. And Amir Ambal back in the fold as well in the World Cup. The Spaniard competing here where he started his career back in 2008. Well, Winterberg, one of the long-established tracks. They've been racing sledges down the gorge here from the top of the hill since the late 1800s. Our start draw starts with Austin Mccrary, his first World Cup race ever. He tied with Ronald Otterset, then Rasmus Johansson, Kevin Foyer and Mark Lynch, the 2 Canadians, are close together. Austin Foyer, the best of North Americans, in 11th place, and the top 10 also finishes a couple of figures, a couple of ties, tie for 9th, tie for 6th. And then we'll get into our medals. Race 5 at the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup. Track work is told to get out of the track as the clock is already running for our first starter in this second heat, the USA's Austin Mccrary, World Cup rookie from Coleyville, Texas. A winner and multiple medalist in North America's Cup sliding. He gets his shot in the World Cup because John Daly, who won team selection in US Skeleton, doesn't have enough recent experience, a multiple Olympian, to be allowed to compete under the rules, so he is earning that, and Austin gets his World Cup start. 5:38 getaway for the second heat, a fraction better than his first. He won't drop out of the top 21 sleds, but his target now will be to break the tie in his favour with Ronald Otterset. Like his first trip down this gentle and gradually speeding up Winterberg track. Pretty neat looking run. 57.69 at the bottom in the first heat. He gets the best ice. There's been a 45-minute break of track preparation. 128.9, good speed. 57.59, a full 1/10 of a second better. There you go. That's a personal best run down this track. And that is what this sport is all about, beating yourself and the mountain. And then let everybody else do what they do. There's Coach Tuffy Latour down at the bottom holding the sled. It's a very warm welcome to Austin Mccrary. So he goes a whisker better at the start and a 10th better on the run. That's exactly what you want to erase some of the mistakes in the first heat. Little low on the first pressure, gets sent up a little high. But it was a pretty decent run all the way down. So Austin Mccrary in the leader's box for the first time. World Cup is the only place where this sort of thing happens. Next up, Ronald Arderset of Switzerland. And Ronnie tied for 20th place. Again, he'll be looking to try and break that tie in his advantage. He came out in the middle of our field, 15th of our 25 starters. And 31-year-old engineer finished in only 25th place on this track in January's race last year. Last year's Europeans were in Sigulda in Latvia. He finished 17th there. And he's looking to improve on that 5:05 getaway. Now 500 slower than his first start, but it gives him a handy advantage over Austin Mccrary. Mind you, he was 3900 quicker than Mccrary in the first heat, and still didn't hang on to that. Hear the crackle of the runners on the ice. Ice is hard and firm. It's been pretty humid and snowing almost all week, so the refrigeration has been on really hard. Lots of work for the track crew. And as ever here in the Veltins Ice Arena, they've done a fantastic job. Second best speed, the gap coming down. 4500s at the last clock. 3900s. He's stopped the bleeding, and in the final corner, he will be our leader. Doesn't have quite the speed of Austin Mccrary, but he is in front, 57.32.
57 point.
So that is a 37 hundredths of a second advantage. Near 4/10 better in the second heat. So Ronald Arderset will finish no worse than 20th place. Austin Mccrary, however, I'm sure will be very pleased to have made his World Cup debut and to make the cut on his first ever World Cup race. That's by no means guaranteed. Head buried from Ronnie. Good form from the Swiss slider. A little hard on the crossover here, 5 to 6. Down at the bottom, the weighing scales are there in the shed if they are required to be used. I'll be used on a few random sleds and also on our top 3. Next up, Rasmus Vestergaard Johansson, just 18 years old, youngest man in the field. Normally competes on the Europa Cup and ICC, coached by Germany's Anja Huber, a multiple world and European champion. But coach Dennis Maggie is there with the sled. And Rasmus's dad, Tom, was a bobsledder for Denmark. Rasmus hoping to try and make it to the Cortina Milan Games. 5:17 the getaway. This young man put in a very smooth first heat performance. Let's see if he can do the same. Little nudge away there from 2, through 3, corner 4. And then starting to build speed quickly down through corner 5. It looks undramatic, but you drop about 3 stories there. Corner 7, the Kreisel, 270 degrees. Little nudge as he gets pushed away. Another 9, little squirrely. Gonna hold it together from 11. Final few corners coming up, 12 and 13, and then the endless double pressure, corner 14. Final little bit of pressure at the line, and he comes down in 57.61, so he's in second place. Ronald Arderset moving up the order. But for Rasmus Johansson, not yet eligible for a World Cup start. He is here because it is the European Championships. So great to see him performing in the full view of the TV cameras. Maybe not quite as tidy a run as the first heat. 500s quicker. But there were a few little errors there creeping in. And it's always a balance. How much you steer compared to how much you let the sled fly. More steering is more control, but it's also more friction and less speed. Ronald Orderset stays in the leader's box. 3 sleds down, 18 to go. This is Kevin Foyer of Canada. Canadians and Americans back here. The 26-year-old in his 32nd World Cup start. Only his first this season, though. Gets a little bump up the zero kink as well. 5:15 the start. Started 5:12 in the first heat. 300ths of a second at the moment over Ronald Orderset. 1500ths from the first heat. Getting pretty busy down there into the Kreisel. Just about hanging on to his first heat advantage. 93 kilometers an hour is the best speed we've seen so far there. Mccrary was quickest all the way down here, had the highest speed. But now Foyer is going quicker. 1:28.7, not quite as quick as Mccrary. 1:28.9, but again, Kevin, a big flick of the legs at the line. He takes the lead. 56.98 compared to 57.54. That's how quick he's bringing himself back up to speed here in Winterberg. We'll take a look at the technique here. Right hand on the left handle, the crossover as you're trying to load. And that beautiful native art on the helmet. Again, late high pressure there, but he's happy with that. Gets the #1 finger.
Death, taxes, and me crashing at the finish line. 3 guarantees in life.
Yeah, there you go. Boy, nothing if not adventurous and spectacular. Well, this is Mark Lynch of Canada, 33-year-old World Cup debutant. And like Boyer, because he's not a European, can't compete in the European Championships, but he's here for the World Cup anyway. Competed in the World Championships in Whistler back in 2019, but this is his first World Cup start. Not everybody from the US and Canadian teams have been able to travel over to Europe, but he's made it here for his first adventure in the World Cup in Winterberg. 5:22 getaway, 100th quicker than his first start. No snow in the air at the moment, so that's good news for the track. 100th in it with Kevin Boyer, his teammate. Rattling all over the place though, early in the run. 5 to 6 a little smoother. The damage done 2 to 3 to 4. And only the 4th best speed. Now he's going to see him drop further into the red. He was the better of the Canadians. Slower sled in terms of pace so far. Looking at second place ahead of Ronald Orderset. There's half a second between first and second at the moment. He's going to fall into that gap. He does. Only just ahead of Ronnie by 400ths. So Mark Lynch makes it into the World Cup, onto the World Cup stage, and will hang on in second place. So no worse than 18th. But again, the key thing here, make the cut. You can see US coach Tuffy Latour helping with the sleds down at the bottom. You'll see sleds or coaches from various different nations helping other athletes. But everybody being really, really conscious of the COVID threat. Again, late height there. Nice face mask. Canadian, plaid, checks all the boxes. Next up, Amir Ambal from Spain, 23rd of our starters in the field. Made his World Cup debut here in November 2008. He actually raced in Winterberg in the Europa Cup race here in November as well. And done 1 World Cup this season. This is his 87th World Cup race though. And focusing most of his attention now on trying to remain fit on the run into the games in Beijing, but also in trying to bring on a whole new cadre of Spanish skeleton athletes. We had the Spanish Championships at the beginning of the season. He's got a big development group. He's got 7, 8, 9, 10, I think, young athletes with real promise. He's going to try and bring on 900ths of a second away from leader Kevin Boyer. Only the third fastest start. The gap went out to 11. It's coming back down. It's pretty impressive speed at the bottom in the run from the Bromley sled. And Amir Ambal knows this sled inside out. He's been on Bromley's since, maybe not quite since Kristen was competing, but their seasons definitely overlapped, certainly since Shelley was competing. And across the line in second, 1300s back. He'll be disappointed not to at least hold his spot, particularly after a really smooth-looking first heat. Quicker first run, quicker second start rather than his first, quicker run than his first, but not quite as big an advantage. And so Kevin Boyer.
Thank you.
Okay, Kevin Boyer is the advantage, has the advantage. He is our leader at the moment. So good form from Amir Ambal, still recovering from his most recent surgery, went home to Spain just before Christmas. Okay, we'll see you there. Next up, Ben Fulker for Great Britain. Only a second World Cup start for Ben. He raced in Sigulda just before Christmas. RAF Flight Ops engineer, 24 years old, was a kickboxer. So I ought to be careful what I say, shouldn't I? And started in RAF Skeleton and then was pointed in the direction of GB Skeleton. It's only his second year competing for Great Britain, raced in the Europa Cup last year. 5:11 start in the first heat, 5:10 in the second. There's no snow at the start, so that's just helping. The snow not filling the grooves, not in the grooves, so you get a slightly faster run. 2400's his advantage at the moment over our current leader, Kevin Boyer. And each sled that comes down will have a slightly greater advantage. The nature of this Winterberg track is you get a lot of close races, a lot of very tiny gaps between the sleds. And usually quite a few ties as well. 2900's up. So the advantage is growing. Nice run from Ben Fulker, 15th place in the first heat, looking to move up a little. He was 12th on his debut in Sigulda, was a slightly smaller field. 56.90, that's 4500s better than his first heat. It was a better looking run, and the clock tells that that was not a misleading look. Got the RAF roundel there, the red, white and blue on the saddle of the sled. So just a little over rotation at the start, hips just a little off square. But gets prone and settled nicely. Didn't have to fight the sled too much, just got to shift the weight back before he leaves the spurs. And down here, nice transition, a little late though maybe. And that gives him late pressure to deal with, but keeps the line nicely. So Ben Fulker, the race leader. Top of our North American athletes after the first of two heats here in Winterberg, Germany, was the USA's Austin Florian. Austin now in his third season, although kind of half season, I suppose, of World Cup racing. Didn't compete before Christmas. It's his 16th World Cup start then. 5 flat, exactly the same as he started in the first heat. Now let's see if he can hold the speed here. Tiny advantage over Ben Fulker from the first heat of just 300ths of a second, but he started a 10th quicker. So he's eked it out to 1500ths. And can he grow that gap? Not a bad transition, 5 to 6, but the gap is down to 500ths. Only the 5th best speed in the Kreisel. Fulker was 2nd best. Florian drops into the red by 500ths. Now, has the sled stayed the same and the track changed, or has the track remained the same and has he changed the sled? Whatever it is, he's losing speed, doesn't seem to be able to carry the speed even though he's holding the line well, drops into second. So Ben Fulker remains in the leader's box, and our top US slider, Austrian Florian, in second place with 13 sleds to go. This is such a difficult track because it seems so straightforward and simple, but there are little problems like this. The 5 to 6 transition, come late off 5, you get bumped into 6. It's like hitting the wall head on. Not quite as painful, but it takes the speed out. Erica and Erica, no confusion there then. Next up, Great Britain's Marcus Wyatt, first man on ice in the new year. He led our field away. Now let's see what he can produce. 13th place, and the top 10 is about a 3/10 stretch. That will require a big improvement from him, but he's the second fastest starter at 4:87. And that's a very smooth transition onto the sled, 4:82. That is the quickest start of the competition so far. Start record, Alexander Chetikov, 4:75. Dates back to the 3rd of January 2014. We were racing on the 3rd of January in 2014. Very unusual. 6100s up, Marcus Wyatt. Really needs to drive away from teammate Ben Fulker, needs to keep building this lead. But it's come down, only the 9th fastest through that speed trap. He'll be ahead of Ben Fulker at the bottom. But the speed is ebbing away in the second half. Again, only 9th best velocity at the bottom. And across the line, 56.90. Well, it's 3100s faster than his first heat. Off a 500s better start. So it's a better drive down the track. How much will it move him up the order? For comparison, 56.90 would have left him 400s off the tie for 9th in the first heat. So it is a degree away, and again you can see him steering hard there. Sled skidding under him. He was trying to move the hips to control the skid. Gets on early and high onto the Kreisel. Has to work hard to get the exit he needs afterwards. So again, 5-6 transition.
Hey everybody.
The graveyard of time. Can we say that this early in the race? I think we can. Next up, Florian Auer. Too many flows. Florian Auer of Austria, you see. Florian the Austrian as opposed to Florian, never mind. Florian Auer, 1300s, his advantage over Marcus Wyatt from the first heat. 11th after the first of our 2 runs, and a 5:06 getaway. So that leaves him in the red, but he built big speed down at the bottom of the track. Had a very smooth looking run. 2500s back. And he needs to be no further behind coming out of turn 5, otherwise he's in trouble. 5 to 6 was smooth, 4th best speed. So he's got better speed than current leader Marcus Wyatt into the Kreisel. Little nudge away, 2nd fastest, here we go. This is what he did in the first heat. Closing the gap down, he's gone from 2900s back to 1100s back. He's level, he's ahead. Final corner yet to go, only the 4th best speed, but it should be enough to take the lead, it is. 56.91, 100th of a second slower than Marcus Wyatt's second run, so he survives on his first heat advantage. Was 1300s up, is 1200s up. And that means he will be no worse than 12th here in Winterberg. He was 8th and 9th in Innsbruck before Christmas. His World Cup personal best 2 race results in consecutive weeks on his home track. A track that demands a big start, but like Winterberg, also rewards good control of the racing line, good gliding.
Hey.
Little smile on the face of Florian, and still not beyond the bounds of possibility he might end up in the top 10. In 11th place, Vladislav Heraskevich, 0.07 of a second. His advantage over the current leader. 13th fastest starter, a whisker quicker than Florian, and came down with that 0.07 of a second in hand. Started 5.06 in the first heat. .506 again, so his 700ths over Florian remains. He starts exactly the same time as the Austrian. His second best velocity out of the start zone. Down into turn 2. He's a 10th up. Taller, heavier than and that helps build the acceleration if you're not doing anything else differently. 1400ths up. Doubles his first heat advantage by the Kreisel, and he's got good speed, as good as ours. Best speed of all. Good stuff down into corner 9. Out of 11, what's the lead looking like? 2200ths. Growing it with every corner. Second best speed. Heraskevich might be driving himself into a top 10 finish. 56.71. 2/10 quicker on that run than Florian for an aggregate advantage of 2700ths of a second over the Austrian, who drops to second, ahead of Marcus Wyatt and Ben Fulker. So Vladislav Heraskevich of the Ukraine looking happy with that run. Still just 21 years old, competed in the Youth Olympics in Lillehammer in 2016.
And now we are in the top 10. Or should I say the top 10?
I think he was already getting ready for the World Cup by then.
Nikita Chagabov.
So we had a tie of our top 10 sliders. Vladislav Heraskevich and the remaining 11 athletes have all done their bit. And we go into the top 10 now with Nikita Chagabov of Russia. And normally there's a 2-minute pause for commercial, but because we've got 21 sliders in, that's the 2 minutes eaten up. So we go straight into Chagabov, 4.95. A whisker quicker than his first start, but a 10th off where he should be. At least a 10th off where he should be. 3/10 up on Vladislav Heraskevich. He had 1500ths from the first heat. He started 500ths quicker than Heraskevich. So he is adding it little by little to his lead. Tied to 100th of a second with Sami Meyer of Austria for 9th place. Wants to break that tie and move up. 98 kilometers now, best speed so far for him. Nikita Chagabov, 3700ths up, top speed in the final corner as well. And across the line, 56.48. That's much more like it. That would have left him 200ths off bronze in the first heat. Now, how much quicker will the later sleds be able to go? Track looks like it is holding up very well. There's no snow in the air. Chagabov not looking entirely convinced by that, but when you start at the bottom of the top 10, maybe he needs to be a little bit more convinced in something.
Next starter, Samuel Meyer from Austria. He had exactly
A little high in 11, got the bumps there.
as our new leader from Russia.
And there's Nikita Chagabov, Olympic silver medalist and current race leader with 9 to go. Sami Meyer of Austria next up. Well, Sami Meyer, third of our starters this morning, 21-year-old. Another Youth Olympic competitor from Lillehammer 2016. Finished in 7th and 6th place in the 2 races in Innsbruck just before Christmas. Those are his best ever World Cup results. 9th place in the first heat here. He was 29th 12 months ago on this track. What an improvement in Sami Meyer this year. 5:09 getaway from 5:16 in the first heat. That is a big difference. 3rd best speed. That was a super start from Sami Meyer. Only Nikita Chagabov has gone quicker. And Meyer had really good form in the first heat. Nice smooth transition, 5 to 6. 2nd best speed, right where Chagabov was. He's in the red though, momentarily. 1300s back, 2nd best speed. Chagabov was fastest at the bottom. Meyer needs to do what he did in the first heat, which is find pace late on in the run. 1200s back, he's going to be 2nd at the line. And across the line he comes, 56.61. Well, that's 2500s better than his first heat, but Chagabov has definitely outperformed him. Another 1300s quicker. So Sami Meyer will be no worse than 10th. 2nd place with 8 to go. 12 months ago, the first racing weekend in January 2020, Sami Meyer finished 29th here. And today he will be no worse than 10th. That is a massive improvement. He was 10th in the Europeans in Sigulda in February last year, and he could well be 10th place in the Europeans here as well. Young Russian Daniel Romanoff now trying to hold off his teammate Nikita Chagabov. He's got a 10th in hand, 8th place after the first heat, 100th out of the tie for 6. So effectively the next 3 sleds are all tied together. He could go up 2. Well, they could all drop behind Chagabov. 4:81, a huge start. That start area is very quick. That is the fastest start we've seen in the competition so far. And Daniel Romanoff, this young Russian, in only his 5th ever World Cup start, we hadn't seen him until this year. Mighty impressive, 3600s up on his teammate. He was only 1/10 ahead from the first heat. Now, can he keep the pace alive? 3rd best speed. That's good enough, is it, in corner 9? Out of 11. Nice smooth transition, 12, 13, having a steer onto 14, only the 7th best pace. He's going to be ahead of Chagabov, rolls it across the line. 56.35. And that would have left him 700s off the lead in the first heat. So here's the answer to the earlier question. How is the track holding up? Apparently pretty decently. 2nd fastest run of the competition so far. Fastest start of the competition so far. And as we said in the first heat, not so much a star in the making, a star in the arriving. Nearly a decade ago, when Nikita Chagabov started, Alexander Chechikov was pointing at him going, these young kids. Well, here's another one. Daniel Romanoff, 24 years old. Alexander Chechikov, 35 years old. We'll be watching in the rearview mirrors. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon. Craig Thompson of Great Britain, tied for 6th position, 100th in hand over Daniel Romanoff. And he needs a big start. He also needs a clean start. 4:89, loads much better than the first heat where his hand missed the saddle. 4:82, game on. Dead level with Romanoff as they load. Romanoff started 4:81 to erase the first heat disadvantage. 400s up from Craig Thompson. But he needs to keep the speed in the Blackrock sled below the Kreisel. That's where it seemed to be dropping away in the speed scales. 700s up. Best speed so far. quicker than teammate Ben Fulker, who had been quickest there at 93.3. Great opportunity for Craig Thompson to grab a top 6 finish here, and maybe even a little more. Really smooth looking run. 4th best speed in the final corner. He will lead by 1800s. That is a 10th quicker than Tretyakov went in the first heat. If Tretyakov goes a 10th quicker, we still won't be below 56 seconds, but that's a great effort from Craig Thompson. No wonder he punches the air with delight there. 2 top 6s in World Cup races, including race 1 in Innsbruck before Christmas. Competed in the Europeans last year in Sigulda, finished 16th. This race last year, an unmitigated disaster. 26th place for Craig Thompson. He could end up 20 spots better. I think he's gaining his revenge on Winterberg. 6 to go. And first of the 6, tied with Thompson to the 100th of a second, is Christopher Grother of Germany. Florian Grassel there in the grey jacket, our jury member in charge of the start area. Florian, a former, I'm sure, European medalist, born in Vestergaard, Bavaria, slid for Germany in the early noughties. Just a little over rotation from Christopher Grother, 28-year-old world champion, yet to claim more than 1 victory in World Cup racing. He's got 1 win and 3 other podiums. 2 4th places in European Championship races, including January 27 on this track. Not sure he's going to get a 4th place here today. He'll struggle to be in the top 8 at this stage. 4700s back. Disaster for Grother. Really not working at all well for him. Craig Thompson is going to lead with 5 to go. But Christopher Grother, where's he going to be at the line? Best speed, too little, too late. Drops 4 spots to 3rd, drops 4 fastest run, drops to 3rd.
Second place, Romanoff from Russia, and the 3rd place for Christopher Grother from Germany.
Well, Christopher Grother in 3rd place. And that is a disaster for the German. Little over rotation, just a fraction to his right. And that just takes the energy and shoves the sled sideways against the groove. And of course, that's going to slow it down. It's all friction. That's a full-on Marco Apicella haircut as well. Everybody's got the lockdown fade going on. 5 to go. Craig Thompson leads from Daniel Romanoff and Christopher Grother. And Thomas Dukors, multiple European medalist, is first up of our final 5. The 39-year-old, the silver medalist in Sigulda last year in the European Championships. Finished 10th in this race last year. Ooh, little steer out of the groove, 498, 700's better than his, beg your pardon, 300's better than his first start. That is still 1600s behind Craig Thompson. He was only 800s ahead from the first heat. So he's got to drive himself back into the lead. The gap's down 2/10 back. Best speed though, 93.8, quicker than Thompson. Still in the red, still 2/10 back, still best speed, 98.0. This could be a little closer. Needs big speed at the bottom, gaps down to 1700s, he's running out of ice, no better speed than Craig Thompson. Thompson's going to lead with 4 to go, he does. 56.18 for Craig Thompson, a 10th quicker than anybody has been down this track today. Is it enough for a medal? Thomas Dukurs, who tied with brother Martins for the European Championship gold medal. Let's see what he can produce. They were joint gold medalists in the Europeans in St. Moritz in 2016. Martins Dukurs looking for his 12th consecutive European Championship, not Korea, 12th in a row. Now then, Felix Kaisinger, 4th place after the first heat, and a pretty decent first heat at that. 22 hundredths off the lead, but only 4 hundredths off a medal. I love the energy in this young man. God help them all if he ever channels it into firecracker runs. 487 starts, second quickest in the first heat. Only Chechikov went better. 485. Craig Thompson and Daniel Romanoff both going quicker. Kaisinger, though, in the green by 2/10. Here we go. How much of that advantage will remain alive? 21 hundredths up. Little wavy in the Kreisel. Decent exit, though. Down to 9. 1900s, the gap is shrinking fractionally. 6th best speed. He's got enough in the bank, hasn't he? 1800s, little bump there. But he will have enough to come across the line ahead of Craig Thompson and lead with 3 to go. Still not as quick as Craig Thompson, but total elapsed time for the 2 heats leaves him as the leader with 3 to go. And you sense possibly, if he's going to take a medal, it might be from teammate Alexander Gassner. Gassner, Chechikov and Martins Dukurs remain. And of those 3, you sense that Martins and Alex Chechikov are less likely to allow an error to creep in when they're in the medal positions. But I think Alexander Gassner, in the last couple of seasons, has become a whole new slider. There's Felix Kaisinger. Will he take a medal here today? He leads with 3 to go from Craig Thompson. The yellow jersey of our World Cup points leader. 4 races this year, 4 gold medals, 1 shared with Chechikov. Will lightning strike twice? It might. And hunting a 12th consecutive European Championship gold medal. Martins Dukurs of Latvia. 488 compared to 492 in the first heat. Still not the fastest start, but it's not about that. It's about finding something to close the 18 hundredths of a second gap to Alexander Chechikov. Has he got enough in the tank? Nine hundredths his advantage over Felix Kaisinger. Dukurs is not going to win this race. He needs to be streaking away from Kaisinger. He was 4 hundredths ahead of him in the first heat. 13 hundredths now. Best speed at the bottom of the track. I don't know, is it enough? This is where the Germans mine for gold. No, only the 9th best speed into the Kreisel. It's only a fraction away. 56.07. That is 39 hundredths of a second better than his first heat. Is that enough? He won the European Championships in Sigulda, in Königssee, in Eagles, here in Winterberg in 2017, in St. Moritz, in La Plagne, in Königssee, in Eagles, in Altenburg, in Winterberg here in 2011, and in 2010 in Innsbruck. 11 consecutive years he has been our European champion. Is this number 12? Martins Dukurs guaranteed a medal. And what about this firecracker, Alexander Gassner of Germany? Silver medalist in the race last year that was won by Sun Bin Young. The Koreans still not here. It was a good race for Korea. Yun was first, Kim Ji-soo sixth, and Yoon Seung-gi ninth place. So all three Koreans finished in the top 10. What can Gassner produce? 497 compared to 499 in the first heat. Is it enough to give him a shot at the medals? 1300s back, the gap is growing. And right now, this might drop him behind Felix Kaisinger. 1200ths of a second, best speed into the Kreisel. Two men between Dukos and gold. This is the first of them, Alexander Gassner. The gap's down to 800s. And if he's going to find it anywhere, he's going to find it here in the lower labyrinth. 400ths of a second, final corner, better speed than Dukos. Are they going to be tied at the line? Who's got the lead? They're not. Gassner ducked his head, but it wasn't enough. Martins Dukos can't believe it. The gap came down. The Germans always find speed below 11 here. Gassner did, but it wasn't enough. He is in second place. He is again in the medals, Alexander Gassner.
European champion 2021. Alexander Chagabov from Russia.
So Alexander Gassner, another big start from him.
Latvia.
Silver medalist last year. He might be silver medalist here again. Last year in the Europeans in Sigulda, he was fifth. That's his best ever European Championship result. He is going to be at least a bronze medalist. And Martins Dukos will be at least a silver medalist. Martins has never had a European Championship medal that wasn't gold. Now then, first race in Innsbruck, Alexander Chechikov and Martins Dukos tied for gold. Could it happen again? 1800s is the advantage for Chechikov. He was the fastest starter in the first heat at 485. 484, he goes quicker again. So he's 2200ths ahead of Martins Dukos as he lies down. Third best escape velocity. Gap's down to 1600ths already. He started quicker than Dukos, but he's losing that advantage. 1200ths, not even 1200ths on the run down through 5 and 6. Third best speed. Dukos fans, Latvia wide, will be holding their breath down to a 10th. Second best speed. Martins Dukos was quicker here as well. 10th of a second in it. 300 meters of ice to decide the European Championship, and Chechikov is pulling away. He's going to break the streak. He's going to win European Championship gold and break the run for the first time since 2007 in Koenigsegg, Bavaria. Alexander Chechikov is the European champion, and he claims his second World Cup win of the season. Think it didn't mean much. Leaf of tension. Alexander Chechikov wins gold in Winterberg and is the new European champion. 14 years since he last had a European Championship gold medal around his neck in what was then the old Koenigsegg track. He's been on the podium a number of times since, with silver medals, with bronze medals. 3 silver and 5 bronze in the intervening years. He's never been far away. Now Alexander Chechikov takes win number 2 of the season, this time sharing it with nobody. He is our European champion for 2021, breaking a streak of 11 consecutive European gold medals for Martins Dukos. Dukos takes the silver, and Alexander Gassner, his best ever European Championship result with the bronze medal. So let's take a look at the result then. Felix Kaisinger finished in 4th, Craig Thompson in 5th, And Thomas Ducour's rounding out the top half dozen, just narrowly ahead of Daniel Romanoff, the second of our Russian athletes, in 7th position. Christopher Grote here slipping down to 8th ahead of Nikita Chagabov. And Sami Meyer, top 10 from Vladislav Heraskevich, Florian Auer, with Marcus Wyatt and Ben Fulker of Great Britain, 13th and 14th. Then the North American sliders, welcome back, boys. Austin Florian, Kevin Boyer, Mark Lynch, and Austin Mccrary, all in our second heat. But it was about Alexander Chechikov today. Fastest start in the first heat, fastest 2 runs, get him down and take victory. Race number 5 at the BMW IBSF Men's Skeleton World Cup goes to Alexander Chechikov, and he is our European champion. Had a huge smile on his face, as well there might be. Well, congratulations to Alex. And in any normal year, we will probably see the skeleton athletes having a quiet meal and maybe just a little beerette or two in the Blackwater pub in the centre of Winterberg. Danny and his crew are doing takeaways this year. We look forward to normality returning next year to be back with them. Martins Ducour's Alexander Gassner, Felix Kaisinger, the top 3 in the championship. As Alexander Chechikov missed the second race in Innsbruck, he is some way back now, despite having a slew of medals in his campaign so far. Chechikov, though, moves up from 11th place. And those are our World Cup point scorers. Now running down almost to 30 names in the list of those who have competed in this season. And although there are no fans on hand here in snowy Winterberg, great to have our North American crews back as well. And we will have North American athletes in our women's skeleton race as well. That comes up this afternoon, 14:30 Central European time, 13:30 Greenwich Mean Time. We start our coverage. In the European Championships, the podium remains the same. Chechikov, Ducours, Gassner, and then Kaisinger, Thompson, and Thomas Ducours ahead of Daniel Romanoff, Christopher Grote here, and Nikita Chagabov. In fact, not much in the top 15 changes. And Amir Ambal will take 15th place ahead of Ronnie Odderset and Rasmus Johansson of Denmark. Great to see that young man in the European Championships. Well, that's it for the moment. Don't forget women's skeleton this afternoon, 2:30, 13:30 Greenwich Mean Time, 08:30 Eastern. Wherever you are, join us then if you can. From me, Martin Haven, for the IBSF TV crew in Winterberg, Germany. That's it for the men. We'll see you later for our Women's European Championship race.